Good day, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Legal Platform. My name is Abah Idu. In today's episode, we are going to be discussing on the conditions of dissolution of marriage in Nigeria. And together with me is Barrister Daniel Abah Idu. I will add Esquire on it. Now, welcome to the platform, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah. Before we delve into the program proper, we would like you to introduce yourself. Who is Daniel Abah Idu, Esquire?
Well, Daniel Abah Idu is a legal practitioner based in the Federal Capital Territory. Daniel Abah Idu is the principal counsel of the law firm of D.A. Idu Advocates, a law firm that is into general practice. We handle breaks from both dispute and non-dispute resolution.
Okay.
Of course, fundamental human rights, matrimonial cause, land disputes, union disputes, and quite a number of them. Also, we do some corporate jobs and the rest. So, basically, that's basically what the law firm of DA is all about. Yeah. Personally, as a person,
yes.
Of course, I attended Benin State University.
Okay.
I did my law school at the Nigerian Law School Kano campus. Bagauda.
Exactly.
Bagauda. Yeah. I was glad to have it. I finished from Nigerian Law School to first class, and I think that's it. I'm an author as well. Of course, I've written a book.
Yeah,
I wrote a book titled Brief.
Yeah,
it's a legal fiction.
Okay.
So I think that's much about me.
That's very robust. What a rich profile. Thank you for coming on the platform. Just like we mentioned earlier, today on the program we are going to be discussing on the conditions for the dissolution of marriage in Nigeria.
Okay.
And the essence of this is we see most people don't know about this pressing topic.
Yes.
Now, to go into the topic proper, what is marriage?
Well, marriage is actually very dicey to define, because it could depend on how you are looking at marriage.
Okay.
Marriage has been looked at by different people from different perspectives.
Okay.
Now, of course, every law student and every lawyer, the first definition that comes to their head is the definition given by Lord Penzance in the case of Hyde versus Hyde. In that case, Lord Penzance defined marriage as a voluntary union for life between a man and a woman to the exclusion of all others.
Exactly.
Now, but that definition has actually suffered some criticism, because you come to realize that in recent times, marriage, not even in recent times, first of all, that definition does not capture the African society. The African society and the Islamic society as well is not well captured, because in the African society, the customary law marriage, which is valid here in Nigeria,
okay,
you will see that marriage would be better defined as a voluntary union for life between a man and a woman, but to the inclusion of some others, because of course the man has the liberty to marry as many wives as he wants to.
Yeah.
Of course, some other persons have argued that Islamic law and customary law in marriage are two different things, because while Islamic law gives the man the liberty to marry as many wives as he wants to marry, Islamic law pegs it at 4.
Exactly.
So maybe you now define marriage from Islamic point of view to the inclusion of maybe 3 others.
Exactly.
So, and then of course, if you now look at the foreign society now disagree with the first aspect, which is now the aspect of a man and a woman, because the LGBT movement and the rest say that marriage can be between a man and a man, and a woman and a woman. And of course, there are even the zoophilia, where man and woman are marrying animals. So the definition of marriage is quite dicey. But I would now define marriage. If I want to attempt a definition of marriage, I would say that marriage is a voluntary union for life between couples.
Okay.
That is recognized by the law. So that is marriage. As far as the law recognizes your marriage, I think that's marriage.
I like the fact that you brought up the issue of LGBTQIA, which has engulfed the 21st century, and there are a lot of topic about it, and it has changed the definition of marriage from the Western perspective, not from the Nigerian and African perspective.
Yes.
Now, does our law recognize same-sex marriage?
Well, to be frank and to be honest with you, the Same-Sex Marriage Prohibition Act, called by the name already, Prohibition Act, 2013, it expressly does not expressly prohibits same-sex marriage. If you look at that law, section 1 and 2 of that particular law,
Okay.
Prohibits marriages that occur between persons who are not same-sex. Section 3 of that particular law now reaffirms the Nigerian position that marriage is between a man and a woman. So a man and a woman, not between persons of same sex. So section 4 goes further to prohibit registration of marriages or churches that try to marry persons or things of that nature. It goes ahead to what's it called? Prohibit such kind of registration. So churches, mosques, and civil societies cannot go ahead and organize marriage between persons who are same sex. If that attracts 10 years of imprisonment for those persons. For the persons who are actually carrying out the act, 14 years in prison. So to the best of my knowledge, same-sex marriage. Now, there's a difference between same-sex marriage and homosexuality. Whether our law prohibits homosexuality and lesbianism and the rest, that's if you look at section 36, section 8 and 12, if you do a community reading of those sections, you will see that the constitution has provided that an act can only become a crime when it's defined by law, and there is no law that expressly prohibits homosexuality and lesbianism. So all this can be practiced in privacy. You get to realize that it is the marriage that the law focuses, that particular law focuses on, the marriage. Now, but section 4 sub 2 of that particular law now prohibit the public display, the public show of the indecency that comes from the homosexuality and lesbianism. Yeah. So that's what the law now prohibits. The law prohibits the public show of it. But the law is quiet as to whether the act itself is a crime. Homosexuality, whether it's a crime. Yeah. The law is quiet on that. So, to the best of my knowledge, there is no law that prohibits homosexuality and lesbianism in Nigeria. What the law prohibits is the marriage. And the law also says that a person who marries abroad, of course, it is recognized maybe wherever you are coming from. When you come to Nigeria, that your marriage is void in Nigeria. So, you cannot enjoy the rights and entitlement of a couple in Nigeria. Yes.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much for that robust perspective. Yeah. Now, a lot of Nigerians tend to find it difficult differentiating between a customary marriage and a court marriage or marriage under the Act.
Yes.
These three words I mentioned, two might seem the same, but I want you to break it down. Customary marriage,
yes.
Marriage under the Act, and court marriage.
Okay. Customary marriage under the Act and court marriage.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Just in brief.
All right. I would want to tie two together and then expand. Because marriage under the Act and court marriage. Now, when we say court marriage, there's actually nothing like court marriage. Nobody goes to the court to get married. I've never, in my entire years of practice, I've never gone to the court where I see a judge conducting marriage. No, that's not the practice. Most times, it is called marriage under the Act or statutory marriage. So that's what Nigerians call court marriage, is what is called marriage under the Act or statutory marriage.
Okay.
And which is now the one that happens at the marriage registry of either local government or the federal, depending on how how it is recognized and licensed to give marriage. But that's what it is. But there's nothing like court marriage. Now, a customary marriage, like I will add one more, which is now the Islamic marriage. Like I tried to differentiate from the beginning, because customary marriage and Islamic marriage are different.
Yeah.
Islamic marriage is Islamic marriage. Customary marriage is customary marriage. Now, customary marriage is the marriage that is guided or formed on the principles of custom. On the principles of custom. You know, our customs are not largely defined, so it depends on how our custom.
Yorubas have their custom.
Exactly.
Igbos have their custom.
Exactly.
Hausa Fulani have their customs.
Exactly.
Igalas.
So exactly. So what now finally makes the marriage valid is dependent on each custom. While for Islamic law, the Quran and the Sunnah and the Hadith, they have expressly provided for
the guidelines, the conditions, and others of how the marriage is conducted,
which is defined for all Muslims, irrespective of whatever custom you are from.
Yeah,
exactly. So that's already defined. But customary marriage is now depending on individual customs and what are the things that those customs will put into consideration to say this marriage is valid.
Yes.
One major thing that is seen in almost all the customs is bride price.
Yeah,
bride price
exactly.
Is there. And then there must be consent and other things.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I think
that's fantastic. And I believe in many customs there are, aside from the bride price, there are differences.
Yeah, there are different. Of course, there are
differences. We say you must bring kola nut. I remember in Fulani, I remember this cliche that you have to be flogged 70 times. You know all of these customs.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
Coming deeper into the topic. Now, life happens.
Yes.
You get married, lovey-dovey, but things happen within the marriage.
Yes.
Life, a marriage is not a bed of roses.
Yes.
Disagreements happens. Now, if a person wants to dissolve a marriage in Nigeria,
yes,
what are the conditions that must be looked at by a court before a marriage can be said to have been dissolved? Or if a client comes to you and says, Barrister Daniel,
yes,
I want to dissolve my marriage, but I don't know how to go about it. Please, what does the law say about the ways I can follow to dissolve my marriage? And what are the conditions that the law has provided?
Yeah, like I mentioned earlier, my law firm is one that we've handled some divorce matters.
Okay.
So we've had, and of course I've had several instances where clients come to me to narrate their marital dispute and that they want to dissolve. So yes, this question is one I usually have an interaction with them about, because there's only one ground to dissolve.
Only one ground?
Only one ground.
One?
Yes.
Okay.
And that ground is that the marriage has broken down irretrievably.
Irretrievably?
Yes.
From the word retrieved?
Exactly. That the marriage cannot go back anymore. So that's when the court has come to the conclusion that this marriage has broken down irretrievably. Then that's when the court will now dissolve the marriage. And that you can find in section 15 of the Matrimonial Causes Act.
Matrimonial Causes Act.
Yes.
Okay.
That's 15 sub 1. Now when you go to sub 2 of that act now gives certain facts, which is now what you now call conditions. But now those facts that you would have to prove to the court, for the court to come to the conclusion that your marriage has broken down irretrievably. So there's a general, there's one umbrella ground. So now left for you to bring up something that will make the court to know that this umbrella ground has been met. And now, but one thing you must know is that you must not prove all. The law, if you look at that particular section 15, it says that either one or more.
Either one
or more.
Okay.
And some of this, I may not be able to, of course, I'm not cramming the law in my head.
Yes,
so
yes.
I'm not going to tell you all.
Yes.
But I know that some of this include one, that the respondent has refused to consummate the marriage.
Now wait. Yes. Pause a little bit. You've mentioned the word respondent.
Yes.
Who is a respondent in this case?
Okay. When it comes to matrimonial cause,
okay,
the person who wants to divorce the other is called the petitioner, while the respondent is the person who is being divorced.
Okay.
Yes.
If, for example, a husband wants to divorce his wife.
Yes. So the husband is the petitioner and the wife is the respondent.
And if the wife wants to divorce her husband,
the wife is the petitioner and the husband is the respondent.
Before you proceed,
yes.
As a Muslim,
yes,
can I follow this process?
Of course you can. Now the thing there is that it depends on what law governs your marriage. A lot of Muslims don't subject their marriage to statutory marriage because the Quran, in fact, Islamic law generally has laid down the principles and the principles that guide marriage, the rules that guide dissolution of marriage. So the rules that also guide inheritance, succession, and all these things, they have been beautifully laid down in the Quran under the Quran, Sunnah, and the Hadith. Exactly.
Yeah.
So most Muslims will not subject themselves to statutory marriage. So they are not subjected to statutory marriage, then you have no business going to the court to go and prove irretrievably. You have no business with it.
I love that.
You just follow what is contained in Islamic books.
Yes.
That's what guides you. So, but for a normal person, for a Muslim man like yourself now, you decide now that you want to have a monogamous marriage and marry one woman. After the marriage, you now decide that I want to also marry in court. The moment you have done that, you have moved your marriage further from the Islamic law. So
you have given it a step further. And
so
does Islamic law have jurisdiction at that time?
Islamic law would still have jurisdiction for the purpose of your Islamic practice,
but it's
not subject to the statutory marriage. So now you cannot dissolve Islamic law and say that the statutory marriage is dissolved. No.
You must go and still
dissolve.
So exactly. As a Muslim, Saad, I marry maybe any person, TV, under Islamic law. And after some time, I'll say, okay, please let's go to the marriage registry in maybe Abuja or Kaduna or wherever we are staying, and we formalize it there. So if I dissolve you Islamically, I still have to go to court to dissolve you again.
Exactly. By the time you are talking her, you are still going back to the court to still go and dissolve her formally, because there's now a statutory marriage.
Okay.
There's now a statutory marriage which is now which now guides the marriage.
Exactly.
So and so the law, the matrimonial courts have to apply at that particular stage. It's just like customary marriage as well. Well, maybe for the purpose of this part of the discussion, I'll classify customary marriage and Islamic marriage together. But for the purpose of what's it called? If a man marries under custom and marries under the act, it's called a double-decker marriage.
Double-decker marriage.
Yes. So now, when you are dissolving the marriage, dissolving the statutory marriage can automatically dissolve the customary marriage. However, most persons, for the sake of the fact that custom is personal to you,
you still have to
comply and by returning the bride price.
Exactly.
So a lot of persons do this. Some of my clients have mentioned about they're in court for statutory marriage dissolution, but they'll still go back and return bride price, because you still follow the customary way to ensure that what guides your personal life is also still properly dissolved.
Exactly.
So that's
now let's go back to the conditions here.
All right, now some of these conditions of dissolution, like I said, number one,
you said factors.
Yes, the fact.
There's one condition.
There's one ground.
One ground. Yes.
And then there are now several facts. Yes. So the law refers to them as facts.
Facts.
Yes.
Okay.
But we can call them factors. We can call them conditions here. One, the marriage, the petitioner has refused. Sorry, the respondent has refused to consummate the marriage. Consummation of marriage is different from refusal to resume conjugal rights or having sexual relations with your partner.
Okay.
These are two different things. Consummation is the first sexual affair between the husband and the wife.
First?
Yes, that's the first. So when a man and a woman marries, and the man refuses to consummate the marriage, or the woman refuses to consummate the marriage, at that particular stage, that's a good ground to end the marriage. Another one is that the man or the woman has committed adultery.
Has been or has?
Or has. Well, it can be one time, it can be
several times.
But the law qualifies to say that, and the wife finds it intolerable to live with him.
So by implication, if she is comfortable with it?
No, yes, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. She can. So there's now another fact that says, okay, fine. If the man if the both parties have lived apart, maybe they've had quarrel and have lived apart for a period more than 2 years. If it's within 2 years, if it's 2 years period they have lived apart, then the law says that the person you are trying to divorce must have to consent that yes, I don't want the marriage as well. But if the person does not consent, you cannot divorce the person. But if they have lived apart for 3 years, you don't need the consent is no longer required. That's that. Then of course the other condition like desertion. Desertion is different from living apart. Desertion is that you both of us are married and then you leave me and I don't even know what's happening about you. Just run away to a different land. I've not heard about you for a period of 1 year. It could be a ground to dissolve the marriage. Now, one of the other conditions is that the person has behaved in a way that is intolerable for the petitioner to live with that person. And this is now section 16 of that act now try to define it. Give a lot of examples: sodomy, your husband is committing sodomy, bestiality, sleeping with animals, or he has been in prison for life. Your husband should not be in prison and then you be in prison in marriage as well.
What about some of our military officers that go for what's it called? A duty?
Going for duty 10 years, 20 years does not dissolve the marriage.
Okay.
It's only when the wife now feels like, now there's a difference between the man going on duty and these are the different now. The desertion.
Okay.
Is man desert? Am I going on duty and deserting you?
Okay.
Am I going on duty and deciding to live separately from you? Maybe some lawyers may want to argue that yes, you are living in another place and the wife is living here. So because of that, they may want to deem it, they may want to argue it to mean that they are living apart, and then the 3 years rule or the 2 years rule come in.
Okay.
But normally that's not living apart. Living apart, the fact that the man is away on duties, on his duty, does not really, his property is still in that particular house.
Yeah.
That's where he still calls his home.
Exactly.
So the fact that he still calls that place his home, but he's only away because of duty. So the wife can probably decide to bring a dissolution to say, okay, my husband has refused to come back. I've asked him to come back to retire from the work, and I can no longer bear it. I can no longer bear it. There's not left for the court to decide whether that's a ground for dissolution. But I think that based on the fact, these are the facts. But I know I'll not say a man who is on duty is living apart from his wife.
Okay.
It's difficult to say.
Okay, that's brilliant.
Yes.
Now, I remember you mentioned that it is not all the factors or facts, you need to prove them.
Yes.
You need to prove one or two of these facts.
Exactly.
And you say section 15, right? Or
Section
51?
15, yes.
Okay, 15 of the matrimonial causes.
Yes.
Act.
15 sub 2, yes.
15 sub 2. Now, can I, Saad, maybe as a father or as a mother or as a concerned human being,
Yes.
see your marriage, you are being beaten, and not just say, I must go and institute action for you to dissolve yourself?
No, you can't do that.
So my question the writer that comes in, who can institute for the dissolution of marriage?
Is the parties.
The husband and their
marriage. Now,
even if the child is seeing what is happening and he says, "Mommy, I will go and dissolve on your behalf."
No, you can't do that.
Wow.
You can't do that.
Yeah.
Marriage is between the man and the woman. So you just if you go into principles of contract now,
yes,
there's what they call privity of contract. Yeah, privity of contract. So there's a contract between two parties. What's your business?
Yeah, exactly.
What's your business? So it is between the man and the woman. So there will be sometimes, like under the Matrimonial Causes Act, a third party could be joined to the suit in the case of adultery. To prove for the purpose of proving the adultery, but basically the dissolution of the marriage is between the man and the woman. Yeah. Now, even in customary marriage embraces family into it. So sometimes you now get to realize that some of the family may interfere to return bride price, but it is very unlikely that the man or the woman stand on their ground that this bride price they are returning, I'm not a part of it. Yeah. It will be difficult to say under customary law because it will be dependent on the different customs whether the father can on his own return the bride price and the marriage has ended, or go to the compound and pick the daughter out and the marriage has ended. For the purpose of statutory marriage, it is between the man and the woman. Customary marriage is between the families of the man and the woman, so the families can intervene in certain situations. But that's a customary. I would say statutory marriage, which is now the formal way of dissolution. Petitioner and the respondent are the husband and the wife. Yes,
that's brilliant. Now, a lot of people have been very wary of the fact that I don't want to go to court. This court thing is it's too lengthy. It will take me 5 days. Me, I want to leave this month tomorrow. How lengthy? How cumbersome? How tiring, if I should go this extent, is the procedure or is the proceedings of the dissolution of marriage?
Well, before I go into
as a practical lawyer,
I'm not handling one right now.
Okay.
That is a thorn on the flesh. So I would probably, but before making reference to that, I'll start by saying that a lot of Nigerians have watched Nigerian movies too much. And Nigerian movies have made the error of making people to believe that there's something called signing your papers to divorce. A lot of persons have fallen under that belief. I've been called by clients several times. Pastor, can you prepare me an agreement so I'm not going to dissolve our marriage?
That is of the solution.
Exactly. So a lot of persons have fallen in foreign jurisdiction. It may be applicable. A man can do and the wife can just sit down and draft agreements and we are both divorcing ourselves or sign papers and whatever it is. But here in the country, the only way to dissolve the marriage is only when the court, especially statutory marriage, I'm thinking about statutory marriage, it's only when the court dissolves the marriage and the court has found that the marriage has broken down irretrievably. So you must go through the court process. Now, how lengthy is the court process? It is like every normal case. There is no special, it's not like the election tribunal that has days, limitation. It is like every normal case, even if it's a sui generis kind of case, because by sui generis I mean it is of its own kind.
Yes.
They have their own rules, matrimonial causes rules, not the normal high court rules and everything. They have, but it's actually no. It depends on whether it's contested or not contested.
Yes.
If the husband and wife are in agreement that let's dissolve the marriage, in one day both parties can be heard.
In one day?
Yes, you can call your witness. You have to call their witness. They hear both parties, and then. But of course, it still follows the process. There's a process of filing.
Yes.
First of all, when you file the process in courts, then the other party either is filing or not filing. If it's filing a counter, it's filing a response to your petition. If it's not filing a response, if it's filing a cross petition, but it's filing stage first of all, you're not going to hear. You're not going to mention the case. Will mention in court. After the case is mentioned in court, the date will be given for hearing. Both parties, and then some other times the court, the Matrimonial Causes Act has given the judge the power to want to intervene. Okay. So there could be a prayer for intervention as well. So there's now, after that, you're not going to what's it called, hearing. After the hearing of the process of the claimants, of the petitioner, we call our witnesses and prove our case.
If it has extended to that level.
Yes, no, you must go to hearing. The petitioner will be called to give her evidence.
Yes.
And she will be cross-examined. The respondent will be called to give his evidence and he will be cross-examined. And then final written addresses will be written, and then judgment, order nisi, and then after 3 month period it becomes absolute.
What's the difference between order nisi and order absolute with respect to matrimonial causes?
No, the order nisi is just basically like the court is dissolving the marriage, but there will be a period in case if there could be a reconciliation between the parties.
Now,
then the order nisi will not become absolute.
That is similar to what we call idda in Islamic law. Okay. Because in our own Islamic law, if a woman is divorced,
yes,
she's not supposed to leave immediately.
Okay.
There is that waiting period.
Yes.
Whether parties can resolve. I think that is similar to what is
exactly. So it's just a 3 months waiting period. See, because like I said, the idea of matrimonial causes rules and everything is that the general idea is that they want to settle the parties as much as possible.
Yeah.
There are a lot of provisions as to settlement, ADR, mediation, and the rest. There are a lot of provisions to that effect. So after the order nisi, wait for 3 months, and then the order absolute. Once it becomes absolute, then the judgment has become final. Now, the length will be dependent on the judge.
Okay.
Some judges are faster. There's a particular matter I'm currently handling that we are at the hearing stage, and that matter has been adjourned 5 times. 5 times, and the court has not sat. Of course, there are reasons why the court may not sit. I will not blame my lord for not sitting, because there could be reasons why the judge did not sit. But such a matter now was filed in 2022. The matter was filed in 2022. It was filed in early 2023. Early 2023.
Yes.
Because I know I filed my processes in May. My response to the petition in May. And this is already March 2024.
Wow.
The matter has not yet been heard. Nobody has given evidence. So of course you can imagine. So if you will be lucky, you could get a judge who probably sits more regularly, and then in less than 6 months you are done. If the matter is not contentious, but it's normal dispute process. So if you are going to court for another dispute process and you see how it goes, it's normal dispute process.
Okay, we are rounding up the program.
Right.
But one last or 2 questions.
Okay, no problem.
If a marriage is dissolved, order nisi, order absolute,
yes,
what next for the parties?
What next is that everybody has gone their way.
Okay.
What next is that of course you can remarry now. You are now free. As for the moment of the dissolution, it becoming absolute, you are now free to remarry. So what next could be that you remarry? What next could be that you you decide that you will not remarry and stay on your own. What next could also be that you could marry the same person back. There's no law that prohibits you from remarrying the person you have just divorced. In fact, I think in the link that I gave you also, somebody published on one online platform some time back, where the person made reference to a couple that divorced for 10 years and they remarried.
Okay.
After the dissolution of the marriage, what next could also be called remarrying. I know that even in customary law as well, what next could also be remarrying, depending on the custom. Under Islamic law, what next I know that Islamic law, the lady has to marry somebody else.
Yes,
consummate the marriage before she cannot remarry.
Yes, yeah.
And I know that, of course, I did a little of Islamic law when I was in my 211 class.
Okay.
I know that under Islamic law, what next could also be that there could be no coming back under a case of lian, where the woman has accused the woman of adultery, and the man has accused her 4 times, and also made the 5th oath. That's good. And then the woman has also debunked that oath 4 times, and then 5 times, of course, debunking the oath, and then after that they cannot remarry. So in that instance, on the instance of lian under Islamic law, they cannot remarry.
No, but what about a situation where there are issues within the marriage, maybe children?
Okay.
What happens?
Now, okay, these things are captured
in the judgment. Okay.
So now, part of the fact, when you are looking at when you are filing your process, like I say, it's sui generis, because there's a special way you will file your process.
Okay.
If I went to file one just yesterday, and you see that it's not the same statement of claim, writ of summons, and the rest. No, so there are things you must state. The fact of the marriage, where people have previously lived, if there are children of the marriage, what is the arrangement to be made for such children, and all those things.
Because the court will have to put these things into consideration in giving judgment.
Giving judgment, exactly. So these are things that the court will now state. So if the children will be in the custody of the wife, or the petitioner, the court will state it, or the respondent, the court will state it, or depending on where the court will state it.
Okay.
Who will be paying money to who, the court will state it, and the like. So who will be paying school fees, medical bills, and the rest.
That's good.
So all these things will be stated in the judgment of the court.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Now, your final thoughts in 1 minute on the topic generally. Your final thoughts.
Well, I think that the world is, if you want to look at this whole thing about disputes in marriage, I think there is one thing that we need to have more experts talking to couples, because I received a call one time from a lady who wanted to dissolve her marriage. So she was referred to me, and as soon as I mentioned, so I mistakenly said, "Where does your husband live?" And she was aggressive. "Don't call that man my husband." And I had to pause. I was like, "Okay, sorry."
She has already divorced him within herself. Yeah.
So you see that dispute resolution mechanisms and experts should come in more for marriage, because a lot of marriages are breaking down daily, and the factors, if you look at it, maybe patriarchal in a way, because in the older days, women did not have what we call economic independence.
Yes.
So women relied heavily on their husband. In the olden days, women were more concerned about what society think about them. In the olden days, women were a little bit more tolerant because of their children. Your husband is committing adultery outside, your husband is cheating on you, your husband is marrying a second wife. A lot of women will still hold because of what society will see and because of their children. They don't want another lady to raise their children. But these are not things that will be endured in this time, because now women are becoming financially free. A lot of women are becoming CEOs. If I richer than their husbands.
Exactly.
Of course, we've had president of the court of appeal being a woman twice, and a lot of other high offices that are occupied. We've had the president of the World Bank, Okojo Iweala. These are women are becoming more independent. So it's easier for a lady now to say, "Oh, I don't even need you. I can divorce." So my only thought is that why it is good that when you are in a place that feels like prison, that feels like you are being tortured, it is good for you to back out. That instead of you to be killed. Like, of course, there are examples of people who have died in marriage. Instead of you to be killed, it's better to back out. But I still feel like there should be more counseling before marriage. Should be something that the society should start looking into. So people should know themselves better before they rush into marriage. So they don't rush in and rush out, because as much as it is good for the sanity of the parties, how much more the children? Is this really good for the sanity of the children that their father is somewhere, the mother is somewhere, they are fighting? Is it really good for the sanity of the children? Children that are raised in local homes, how much does this thing affect them? And then one last question, which will not be my closing thoughts, will be that imagine that you are married, and you have a child. Then you decide to divorce. Now you have a child, and then you are now free. And a lady is married and she has a child. and then she divorced her husband. So the lady has a child and she's married and she's now free to remarry. Now you now marry this lady. Your children now will call themselves siblings because of course by virtue of marriage they are not related by affinity. Now after being siblings for 10 years, you will now divorce. Are they still siblings? Is there anything like ex-siblings? At least he was my ex-siblings.
Complexities.
These are the complexities that come. Can somebody you call sister for 10 years, can you not go and marry that person? Because that affinity that prohibits the ability to marry has now been severed. So these are closing thoughts. I may not really get to answer them, but just
thank you so much.
Thoughts.
It was a very robust discussion. Thank you so much, viewers. With this, we come to the end of today's discussion. Thank you so much for viewing to our YouTube channel and all other social media platforms. Don't forget to subscribe. See you next time. Mr. Daniel.
Thank you so much.
Nice to meet you.
Thanks,
Yeah.